yacht right up against the land. That's owned by Malcolm Forbes. Now, Malcolm Forbes, he dates Elizabeth Taylor. He publishes Forbes Financial. Isn't that a beautiful yacht? It appears 60. Oh, that one. These piers, though, when you're going down the Hudson River, if you want to know what street you're at, you can do that by looking at the pier number on the left and subtracting 40 from that number, and that tells you the street. Like pier 60 back there, you take away 40, that's 20th Street. Works. On your right side, on the top of the hill on your right side, that's a school over there that live here, as well as actors and writers, musicians, poets, dancers, painters. Greenwich Village is also famous for having the world's largest outdoor art shows twice a year. They're held in the Washington Square area. Use now, but if you were in New York perhaps 10 years ago, you would have seen all kinds of freight ships here, cargo ships. There are no more cargo ships coming into Manhattan. And the reason for that is they're all too big these days. They're huge. They're what you call container ships. And you need large land areas for the container terminals. They don't have that land in Manhattan, so they build those terminals in other parts of the city, mostly in Brooklyn or over in New Jersey. So these piers will eventually be torn down or used for recreational purposes. The passenger ships still come into Manhattan, the big ocean liners. Now, straight over on your left side, pier number 40. I told you before how you can find out what street you're at by subtracting 40 from the pier number. We're at Nothing Street. Street sign over there, nothing on it, blank, yeah. You fill it in yourself, wherever you feel like being at that moment. Hey, that's it. No, this is Greenwich Village. They're all named streets down here. This would be Houston Street. Houston. Now, some people might pronounce it Houston. It's spelled the same way, but here in New York we call it Houston. There's a big city in Texas called Houston. And some of you history buffs with us here today remember Sam Houston. Now, south of Houston Street is a neighborhood called Soho, Holland Tunnel. Very first underwater tunnel ever built for cars, this one. It was opened in 1927. And they still use this tunnel, still in use. Next time you drive through it, keep your fingers crossed. And they named the Holland Tunnel after the man who built it. They named the tunnel after the first chief engineer. His name was Clifford Holland. They named it after him because the man died 3 days before the tunnel was completed. 3 days. A little bit of green on the top of it. And that's the Woolworth building. And they call it the Cathedral of Commerce. And the building was actually fashioned after the House of Parliament in England. It's straight over. That was the world's tallest building for 18 years. 60 stories high, 60. And it was built in 1913. It's straight over. The Woolworth building, you can only see the top half of it now. 4 high. Here they are. Now, the way our boats are built, most of you can't even see the buildings. Can't even see the tops. But you will later. When we get further from them, you'll see the entire building. Look in front of them. See these buildings? They all look similar. They're all glass and granite. They're all owned by financial institutions. This is the new financial center over here. The Dow Jones people own one, Merrill Lynch another one. See the one that has the pyramid on the top, pyramid shape? That's the world headquarters for the American Express Company. That's the American Express building. And I understand they're going to put a statue of Carl Malden on the top of that building. I swear that's true. Don't leave home without them. Now, in front of it, you see the building? It's the round glass building. It's kind of a deep green color. It's an oval shape there on top. That's an atrium, and it's called the Winter Garden. It's a spectacular new show place. And inside of it, there is 50-foot palm trees, 16 of them. And in the middle of winter boat over there. So if your boat is any shorter than 75 feet in length, they're not interested in having your boat there. Sail on by. In fact, they have a guy sits in front there with a pair of binoculars and a tape measure. And a sign that says, keep moving. Let's go to the right side. See the clock on your right, top of the Colgate building, which they just tore down. That clock doesn't look so big, does it? But it measures 50 feet across its face. The minute hand on that clock jumps 3 feet every minute, 3 feet. In fact, when that hand is on a quarter after, there's room on it for 15 men to stand, shoulder to shoulder. 15 very skinny, courageous men. Guys who drink a lot, you know. I saw 15 of them up there just the other night, 11:15. And they were feeling pretty good, too. 20 after a comparison of the old and new. And all these buildings you see on your left along the waterfront, they're all on filled-in land. They've added 100 acres of new land onto Manhattan by filling in the river. And they're building on this apartments, office buildings, the financial center. That's really a very ambitious project. It's called Battery Park City. They've been working on that for many years now. And then straight off to your left, the pier. That's an old ferry boat terminal on your right. It's been completely restored to look the way it looked when it was brand new. It's the old Jersey Central ferry line. And now it's become part of Liberty State Park in Jersey City. And this building is used for special public occasions, such as craft fairs, art shows, things like that. This is Jersey City on your right, and over your right shoulder, all those buildings back there, that's Jersey City. And you just left the Hudson River behind you. Now you're out on the upper New York. That's the bridge. That land you see down there, the Jersey Shore. It really is a clear day. You're on the right side of our boat, you probably can't see that. That's where they had their papers checked, and they were given the physical exams here, and then vaccinated. And then from Ellis Island, the immigrants would go on to Manhattan by way of ferry boat. They closed the island in 1954. It was closed, but you can see they're working on it. They're restoring it, and they're going to have this island open again to the public. It'll be open next year, as a matter of fact. It'll be part of a national park. It'll be an historical site. You'll be able to visit Ellis Island and Gosport Boldy. And she stands out here on Liberty Island, which used to be known as Bedloe's Island. This is the largest statue in America. The statue stands 305 feet above this bay. It's green because it's made of copper, originally a bright copper tone. Salt there turns it green. That adds a bit of beauty, though. It gives it a protective coating, too. The copper's very thin. The left hand is holding a book or a tablet, and that's a symbol of our Declaration of Independence. The words July 4th, 1776 are on that tablet. A right hand holding a brand new torch of freedom on high. The flame portion of the torch is covered with gold. It's 23-karat gold leaf to reflect the sunlight. Here she is, our first look at the Lady of the Lamp, the Statue of Liberty, very close on our right. I know if you're on the left side of our boat, you can't even see it, but you will when we turn. You'll have a good look at it. Patience, my children, patience. You too shall have your moment. Oh, yes. If you can see all those flags flying off on your right side along the Jersey waterfront, that would be Liberty State Park in Jersey City, opened on the 4th of July, 1976, which was our bicentennial year. Good morning. Great view. Now you can see those twin towers in their entirety, each of them 110 floors. See, what a great picture that is. What? You didn't bring a camera here today? Shame on you. However, don't despair. You can buy one at our snack bar. Yes, they have a camera down there for you. It's called a Fling. Comes with, no, they run out. Let's go back to our left side. Here's the Statue of Liberty coming into view on our left. We're going to get closer to her. Statue of Liberty is very beautiful at night. So, you know, at night her torch is illuminated from within, and so is her crown. And then they shine floodlights on the rest of the statue from the island below. Beautiful at night. 9 till 5. $3.50 round trip. Half price if you're under 12 years of age. Hey, how about that? Not too many of us qualify for that one today. There she is. Good look at the Statue of Liberty. Her base is an odd-shaped base, shaped like that for a reason. That was actually a fort. That base was a fort that had been built for the War of 1812, and it was called Fort Wood. And now they have a museum in the base. It's the Museum of Immigration. And you know, the old torch that she had held for 98 years, They took it down in 1984 to replace it. The old torch is out there in the base of the statue. So there she is, Miss Liberty. We've all had a good look at her, I think. On the observation deck, you can actually see them from here. You see them up there? Yes, you can. You can see them. Yeah, those are people up there. Oh, look, one guy's even waving to us from up there. You see him? He's waving. There's the guy with the big smile on it. Population of Manhattan, 1,400,000 living in Manhattan. That's densely populated. It's about 65,000 people per square mile live on Manhattan. Now, not many living in this area. This is all finance over here. So if you look at it, inland building, and behind that is the downtown heliport. You also see a police post right over the downtown heliport. You see some helicopters over here, and this is where President Bush landed earlier today, and he's at the UN right now. I think his helicopter would be that bigger one out ahead there. It looks like it's sort of a green and white copter. Here's what you do to see it. Coming up on your left are 3 piers. One's a little green and white one, the other 2 are big white ones. They look like balloons. They're all air domes. There's air holding them up. Beneath them are tennis courts. They play tennis all year round here at the Wall Street Racquet Club. Okay, Wall Street's right behind the little green and white air dome. Right behind it. All you do is look above that air dome. Watch that street open up, and then you'll see Trinity Church at the end of it. If you're going to take a picture of it, don't jump the gun where you see the church. If you're on the bow of the boat, look back. You guys on the bow, you can see the church right now. The rest of us in the front of the boat, right down the street, there's the spire of Trinity. See it? You're in the middle of the boat, you're starting to see it now. A little better than yesterday, yeah. Okay, by the way, whenever you see an air dome around New York City, it's always covering distance. And visit them, go aboard, and walk the streets. All kinds of outdoor cafes, restaurants. They have crafts people over here. They have museums and art galleries. All kinds of restaurants. So see this Pier 17? That's part of it, that red pier. 100 restaurants and shops on that pier. And Caroline's Comedy Club. This is where it's located, down at the seaport. It's worth a visit. I think you'd have a nice time over there. Total New York mixed with the new. And here's an old bridge ahead of you. It's one of the most beautiful bridges in this country. It's the Brooklyn Bridge. It's the one that's been sold about 10,000 times. And this Brooklyn Bridge, this bridge is open before the automobile was invented. This bridge is 106 years old. Opened in 1883. Cars were invented about 10 years later. So this bridge was actually built for pedestrians and for horse-drawn carriages. It was built by a man named Roebling, John Roebling. It's a masterpiece of engineering. It's good for another 100 years, of Brooklyn Bridge. And then ahead of you, there's another bridge out ahead. This next one is called the Manhattan Bridge. Now, when you sail beneath the Manhattan Bridge, you might hear a rumbling sound over your head. And if you do hear that, that would be a subway train crossing that bridge. Manhattan Bridge is used by the New York subways as well as cars and trucks. Oh yes, they go beneath the river too. There are many, many subway tubes under the rivers here. Let's look at the bridge. You'll see when you go on, you'll get a train. Meantime, look back a bit. Look over your left shoulder. See the building with the gold on the top there? That's 23-karat gold leaf, and that's the Federal Courthouse at Foley Square. And to the left of it, a building with a golden statue on top. See that one with all the scaffolding? That's our municipal building, our city office building. The statue on top is that of a lady in riding clothing, and it's called Civic Pride, or Civic Fame. The statue weighs 36,000 pounds, and it's covered with gold. It's called the Bibby Resolution. It's a jailhouse, and the city bought that from the British about 8 months ago. The British used it during the Faulkner Island War and held soldiers. Now it houses 380 criminals. Floating jail on your left. Sometimes in the nice weather, a little bit of a rest, my voice a rest, Give you a chance to try our snack bar downstairs. Want something hot to drink right now? Coffee, tea, hot chocolate? Oh yeah. How about scotch? They have it too. Rye, rum, coke. You get a little more. Waterfront, that's the New York University Medical Center, NYU Medical Center. They have a teaching agreement with Bellevue Hospital. If you look back and you look, see the big cube-shaped building near the waterfront? That's Bellevue Hospital. That's their new building, Bellevue. And this medical center here, some of the alumni of the center, Dr. Walter Reed, Dr. Jonas Salk. There's a gold-top building back in inland on your left. That's the New York Lightman barrels of fuel, gasoline, more than likely. It's a big, big fuel bar here. And you see the smokestacks behind the bar. Whenever you see smokestacks like that around New York City, that's Consolidated Edison Electric. That's where they convert the oil into electricity with steam turbines and generators. That's their Kips Bay plant. Now look ahead of the smokestacks in inland. They say it's the most beautiful building in the world. It might very well be. The one with the silver spear on top. That's the Chrysler building. Chrysler building, 77 stories, all Art Deco. They light up the top of it at night. And it is a beauty. It's on 42nd Street and Lexington Avenue, the Chrysler building. And then the flat-top building next to it, that's the Pan Am building, the airline's Pan Am. They used to run the helicopters off the roof of that one in the airport, so no more. Now, looking ahead on your left, there's the United Nations Development right on the waterfront. Here's the UN coming into view. President Bush over here right now addressing the General Assembly. Before you get to the United Nations, however, just before you get to it, you're going to see a wide street open up, and you can actually look right across Manhattan Island on this street. It's 42nd Street. That's where you got on this boat over an hour ago on the other side of Manhattan. Here it is, right there. You look right across. Manhattan is 2 miles wide, right there. And here's the United Nations. It's the tallest building at the UN. That's the Secretariat building. That building is 39 stories high. There's 5.5 acres of glass in the face of that building. All those windows get washed twice a month by one man. But he really works at it. He never takes a break, that guy. He never stops for lunch. And I spoke with him recently. He says he's sick of it. That's what he said recently. We, of course, will keep you posted about his attitude. You get back home, drop us a note. We'll let you know. Here's where President Bush is right now. You see the building with the gray dome on top? That's the General Assembly of the United Nations. And if you look at the... And while you're looking back on the left, that's a pretty good view of the Midtown area as seen from the east side of the island. Center. They shaped it like that on top. They were going to put a solar unit up there, but they changed their mind at the last minute. They never put it up there. And straight over on your left, here's where Henry Kissinger lives, and Greta Garbo. It's a big old brown apartment building straight over, right on the shore here. It's called River House. And that was the very first luxury apartment to be built on the east side of Manhattan Island, River House. This was a setting for a play years ago by Sidney Kingsley called Dead End. And then it was made into a motion picture with Humphrey Bogart. Back on your left, River House. Kissinger lives there. On your right side, just over on your right, you come out from under this bridge. If you look up, you'll see the cables. And on the left side, you'll see the cable cars. One of them going towards Manhattan, the other one coming away from it. And they're red in color. They carry 125 passengers. That ride takes about 5 minutes. And the cost of it is $1, which is a subway token. That's what you pay to ride the cable car. And then straight over on your left side, here's New York City's largest animal hospital. It's a light gray building with blue trim at the bottom. That's the Animal Medical Center. It is the biggest animal hospital in New York City. I don't know what the arrangements are over there. I think it's 2 dogs to every room. Cats get their own rooms. Horses get their own. Robbery. Also on your left side, above that long gray wall over there, all those buildings, that's all part of Rockefeller University. And that's where they constantly conduct experiments, hoping to find a cure for disease, the prevention of it. It used to be the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research. Right behind it, the Sloan Kettering Memorial Hospital. Light gray building with black vertical lines in the face, straight over 1 block inland. And on your right side now, here's the oldest farmhouse in New York. 21 building complex, and that's followed up by the Hospital for Special Surgery, the name right in front there, shaped like a wedge. Just about every room has a view of the river. And that's joined by a little... Now, if you want to live over in this building, you buy your apartment like a home, like a house. And the prices over here start at $300,000 a room. That's one room, $300,000. 2 rooms, $600,000. What? You want a bathroom too? $900,000. And you know, on Manhattan, the higher you go in the building, the more you pay for the room. You know what you get for $300,000 over here? You get a room that's located 2 floors below street level. You must find it with a flashlight. But for that kind of money, they give you the flashlight. Batteries are not included. Come on, you can't have everything. So kidding aside, those are the rates, $300,000 a room, and you do get a bathroom with it. And that's about 30 years old, that building. And this is where, if you're an American, you might know him, a comedian named Rodney Dangerfield lives in this building. Now just look at all those trees growing halfway up there, an acre of root gardens. And those trees change with the season. And if you live in that building, and you want to take a walk in the park, you never have to leave home. Right? Oh, it's a nice day. I think I'll go upstairs and take a walk in the park. Ooh, be careful, honey. Don't fall off the park today. I think Dangerfield told a couple of cents. That highway on your left, that's called the Franklin D. Roosevelt Drive. That's the FDR Drive. And the wide street about to open up here on your left, 2A Street, that would be 79th Street and East End Avenue. These are all very expensive apartments here on your left side. It's all very high-priced areas. They're older buildings, too. Now, ahead on the left side, there's a fenced-in area just over the highway, and you'll see a number of girls playing in a place to put it. So they built it right out over the highway. And that's coming up on your left. And usually the girls, when they spot the Circle Line boats, they usually drop whatever they're doing, run over to the fence and wave to us. And maybe they'll be doing that today. We'll see. Although they look like they're pretty well occupied. They're playing some kind of a hockey game, I guess. So here we go. There's the girls. It's the Braley School. I guess nobody's spotted us yet. Nobody's waiting. We're going to be leaving the East River, and we've about come to the end of it. We're going into a body of water known as Manhattan, the Bronx, and Queens. That's Queens off to your right. LaGuardia Airport's about 5 miles over, as well as Shea Stadium, where the New York Mets play baseball, 5 miles to the right. Area, that's what it signifies. And it's a little park here on your right. On your left again, you look inland on your left, there's a big... Articles, works of art, artifacts. It is one of the world's finest collections of black history and culture. The Schomburg Center at 135th and Lenox Avenue. Those apartments back on your left, they're called the Esplanade Gardens. They're cooperatives for middle-income families. Price range about $500 per room. 5 rooms, $2,500. You own it, it's yours. You move, you sell it. However, you cannot sell that apartment for a profit. You sell for no more than what you paid. That was part of the deal to keep speculators out of it. They were built for middle-income families. To you baseball fans with us here today, on your right side, here's the Yankee Stadium coming up on your right, the home of the New York Yankees baseball team. You have a good view of it here in a moment. Yankees are out of town right now. They'll be over here, what is that, September 29th. They'll be taking on the Detroit Tigers at the stadium on the 29th of this month. So if you're going to be in New York on the 29th and you want to see Detroit drop one, get yourself to the Yankee Stadium. Because they're going to send those Tigers back to Detroit with their tails between their legs. And that was the end of the Polo Grounds. It was all torn down shortly thereafter. And it's gone, and in its place a softball field, playground, 2 schools, 4 very large apartments. These are called the Polo Ground apartments on your left. And the old landmark is gone. And the highway of it is the South Bronx. And the Bronx here is the only part of this city that's on the mainland of America. All the other boroughs are on islands. Manhattan's an island, so is Staten Island. Brooklyn and Queens are on Long Island, the western end of it. The Bronx here is on the mainland. And the Bronx was named after one of the first settlers in the area, a man named Jonas Bronk. Spelled his name B-R-O-N-C-K, and he settled here with his wife. And they owned most of the land, and it was referred to as the Bronx land. This is the Bronx land. From 1848. Steel parts were added later. High Bridge was built to hold aqueducts. The bridge was actually a part of the Croton Reservoir system, bringing drinking water into Manhattan from the Croton Reservoir 40 miles north of the city. And they pumped the water across this bridge into the Midtown area. Now you look on the left, see that big old beautiful tower up there on top of the hill? That was the water pumping station 100 years ago. They stopped this, so they haven't used this system here for about 70 years. The whole bridge has been closed and everything. In fact, the tower, the pumping station on the left, when they closed the bridge down, they put bells inside of it, a carillon. It had a beautiful wooden top too, an ornate top. Well, about 10 years ago, there was a fire in that tower. Everything was destroyed, the bells, the top burned right off. But I see they're restoring it up there now. And staying with your left, on top of the hill, there are some rather tall buildings, kind of a little check to see who's listening here today. That's all. They're not walkers. Can you imagine walking 40 floors, everything? Look at the angles in them, though. They are award-winning for their design, and they're called the towers. They're called the Harlem River Park Towers. And these apartments, they're actually a part of a state park that's been created on this Bronx waterfront, and it's called the Roberto Clemente State Park. It was named for baseball star Roberto Clemente. He played with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He died 17 years ago in a plane crash. On this ride, we go under 19 bridges. We make it under all the bridges around Manhattan. There used to be 20 bridges. They took one out about a month ago, an old railroad bridge to repair it, replace it. So now it's just 19 bridges. And we make it under this one. Here's the swing mechanism on your left. because in the summertime, youngsters get up on the top of this rock, right above that sea. They wait for our boats to come by, and the kids jump into this creek as we sail by. It's a 90-foot drop, 90 feet, and they do it, and they're just kids. They're 10, they're 12 years old. If they were 13, they wouldn't do it.
Rambo.
No jumpers today. It's pretty cool to be jumping on a rock today. See the big blue C in the face of this rock? That C stands for Circle Line. I painted that there myself in lieu of jumping one day. All right. Seaport Columbia University. The guys from Columbia painted that. They hung from ropes, and they had permission, and they give it a fresh coat every once in a while, too. Moon. He discovered the Hudson River in the year 1609, and he sailed into this cove, and he went ashore here, and he made a treaty with the Indians, and then he went north again. And so that's the Cove of Henry Hudson. Leaving about 25 minutes on that trip from Albany. There's the workers on your right. And once we pass this bridge, we're leaving Spuyten-Duyvil Creek behind it, going into the Hudson River now for the second time today. Last part of the cruise here. Mighty Hudson coming up. How you doing? Here's the Hudson. If you first look to your left, there's the George Washington Bridge off Nyack to Tarrytown. And that's Washington Irving country up there. Rip Van Winkle and the Catskill Mountains. And about 40 miles to your right would be Double Deck Bridge. The lower decker was added to it about 25 years ago. The rest of the bridge is 58 years old. So with 2 decks, the bridge now has 14 lanes. 8 on top, 6 on the bottom. That bridge now weighs 1 million tons. And there are 4 cables holding the whole thing up. Those cables are only 3 feet in diameter. 3 feet thick, that's all. I'm afraid to sail under it. Within each one of those cables, there are 27,000 wires in each cable. 27,000. In fact, if you could take the wires out of those cables, tie those wires end to end, they go around the earth 4 times. 4 times around the earth. And the bridge would fall down too. So that's oil. And on your right side, this is New Jersey, and if you can see some of those cliffs showing through here, they're part of the Palisades, the New Jersey Palisades. The river, one of the most beautiful in America. And it is. Further north you go in the Hudson, the more beautiful it becomes. Those are boats back on your right. That's a boat marina there, Englewood Cliffs Boat Basin. And on top of the hill on the right, those buildings are owned by the Catholic Church. That was at one time a novitiate, and now I believe it's a girls' high school. Beautiful spot on the Jersey Cliffs. That's on your right. On your left, looking ahead a bit on the left, Cloisters on your left. And that museum is composed of medieval European monasteries and parts of churches and chapels that have been brought from Europe and reassembled here. And within the cloisters, the Metropolitan Museum of Art's medieval collection, or part of it anyway, stands. Mementos on this Land Grant's tomb. There are maps, flags, you know. And that's an excellent view of the tomb. And then you have the beautiful church ahead of the tomb. That's Riverside Church. And Riverside Church was originally a Baptist church. Now it's interdenominational. And the tower of that church contains the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial Carillon. It's a 74-bell carillon. The smallest bell weighs just 10 pounds, and the largest bell is 20 tons. It was dedicated dedicated to the soldiers and sailors who gave their lives in the Civil War, both from the north and south. It's made of a Japanese marble 90 feet high, straight up to your left. Old red brick apartment building on the left side. This is the one that has the long green shed up on the top of it. That building was the New York residence of newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst. When Hearst was alive and in New York City, that's where he lived in the building. He owned the upper 3 floors of it. He had a 40-room apartment over there. And he owned the shed on the top as well, where he had a swimming pool and a gymnasium. He also owned a castle in California, San Simeon. That's an apartment building called the San Remo. One of those tower apartments is owned and lived in by an actress named Mary Tyler Moore, and then the other tower is owned by an actress named Diane Keaton. Also living in the building, actor Dustin Hoffman lives over there. Tony Randall lives there. Barry Manilow, Raquel Welch, Robert Stigwood. They all share a one-room apartment in that building. Tight, but it's fun. Now they live over there. It's the San Remo on 74th and Central Park West. 2 blocks south of that is a classic old apartment building called the Dakota. We cannot see the Dakota here, but that's where John Lennon had lived, and that's where Laura Bacall lives, and Leonard Bernstein, he lived in the Dakota. This is the 79th Street Yacht Marina on your left. And if you look above it down the street, you might see a building at the end of the street with a green roof. It's the American Museum of Natural History. And that's a museum where they have the dinosaurs and the whale that's 60 feet long and the world's largest sapphire, the Star of India over there on the swing of Jim Boyce from Foot Park. And about 79th Street is the Metropolitan Museum of Art.